Hello, guys. I'm so glad to have you back on A Strong Way of Life. And today we're going to make enchiladas. Every cooking video will never forsake the scale. Here is our bowl. I actually have not measured this in the metric system. So as we go, I'll be using cups, but then in the description, I'll put metric system if you guys use that. 3 cups of flour here. Also, shocker, this is my first non-sourdough recipe, but I will still exclaim, here's our third one. That is 471 grams for flour. I feel like salt is kind of iffy when you come to measuring on a scale. Mine is not super precise. So I sometimes measure on the scale. I sometimes just use the teaspoons and tablespoons when it's that small. So this is 1 teaspoon and that is 5 grams. We're gonna pack this half a cup with, I use coconut oil. Any oil works, honestly. I don't know if I explained, but we are making homemade tortillas. This is something you'll hear from me regularly. I think people should be capable of making any bread from scratch. This is what? 1, 2, 3, 4 ingredients. And that's really all that needs to be in your tortilla. You don't need all of the other weird shiz. Also, sometimes people are like, it takes so much time and whatever, but also like it's for your health. And I've never noticed a difference between how long my tortillas last versus the ones from the store, especially if I refrigerate my things. They last for past 2 weeks. If I don't, yeah, they do rot because they don't have that preservative in them. But I'm so passionate about learning how to make your own food. It's not that hard. We have evolved so much and people take so many things for granted. And it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I have to take 20 minutes to cook more tortillas or make some or whatever. Like, I guess in reality, it takes 30 minutes, maybe an hour to get through everything. But as you get familiar with the recipe, it really doesn't take too long. But it's like, okay, so our ancestors literally were like killing cows and like you can't face mixing flour in a bowl. I don't really know what to tell you. Rough life ahead. Also, let's see, actually. Let me do some math because my scale turned off. So I don't know how much coconut oil that was. Okay, 109 grams of oil. Don't mark me on that. I just did the math. So hopefully that's right. To be safe, I would just use a half a cup. These are all the ingredients for our taco. How easy was that? Way too easy. And I put it in grams, so you shouldn't even need any utensils except like maybe a spoon to put your flour and your oil in here. Other than that, our handy dandy scale carries us. Before we add the water, we're just gonna go in and handle this, mixing the oil to the flour, and it'll get just like crumbly. Another thing I found interesting, I've been trying to switch my household ingredients to more whole foods, like less processed. And I think about a month ago, I like completely switched my flour. I kind of was like in the middle, like, oh, I don't, it's a little bit more expensive, but I actually found unbleached flour at a grocer near me. And so now I always get it. And it just fascinates me. For the longest time that I thought flour was pure white, but it's actually kind of like a tan color. We've just become accustomed to like process things looking normal, but they're really not actually. Okay, so now it's kind of like crumbly. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a cup of water. I'll measure that on the scale. 247 grams of water. Now this is gonna be like super sticky and tacky, which is good. It's what makes our tortillas so soft. Like these are such great tortillas. I mix it in the bowl until it's more of a dough because it starts out pretty runny, pretty sticky. And I wipe my counters down before this, so I'm just gonna slide this onto the counter. Now, let's see here. Whoops. Now, you may be thinking, this is really sticky dough. We're not putting flour on our counter. No, because the more flour you add to this, the tougher the gluten gets and your tortillas aren't going to come out nice and soft. It might take some work to get that stickiness out. And if it really does feel super sticky at first, just keep rolling on that counter. And like you can see, my dough is already composed into a soft elastic ball. And as I mentioned earlier, I did most of the kneading in the bowl so it doesn't get so messy. Okay. Now, this ball is pretty tough because of the gluten that's been made. The more you work with dough, the tougher it gets. From here, you could separate these and roll them out and start cooking them, but I think it's better when you allow them to rest. What I'm doing here is grabbing a ball of dough, placing it on my scale. I measure out 2-ounce balls, about this big, golf ball, I would say. When I roll them out later, you can kind of gauge, like if you want bigger tortillas and just add more dough. If you want a smaller tortilla, you could go for a 1-ounce ball. Just kind of test and gauge what works for you. Here are all my tortilla balls that will be rolled out. If you don't care about uniformness and you feel great measuring with your heart, skip the steps that I just did and you can separate them at your own will. I just like having mine all the same size. We're gonna let this sit for 15-20 minutes. That'll let all the gluten fibers relax and we'll have much more softer tortillas. As I mentioned earlier, I already cleaned off my countertops. Grabbing the rolling pin out and the dough. It can go straight on the counter. We're not using any flour to make sure this doesn't stick because it won't stick. Because of the oil we put in it, it's actually just fine. Here is the size of the tortilla, 2 ounces, a decent size. I would say maybe 6 or 8 inches. We're turning our skillet on to medium. You'll need a small sliver of butter to coat the pan. Each sliver usually lasts like for 6 tortillas, I would say. 4 to 6. Spread that around nicely. And I'm grabbing my tortilla off the counter, plopping it straight into the pan. That was not a very good laying down on my part. I try to get all the wrinkles out if I don't throw it on there very well. Now, the first tortilla takes the longest to cook. So I usually end up having to turn mine down to medium low because I'm rolling out tortillas over here while one cooks. So you over here, rolling out our tortilla. It's not sticking at all to the counter. I haven't perfected being able to get my tortillas into perfect circles, but they're close enough and it ends up just being eaten, so it doesn't concern me too much. Again, we're going for that opaque feel. You should lightly see your counter through, but not super thin or else it won't come off. Back over with our tortilla. You can see it more yellow, starting to bubble. I just use my fingers. I'd probably advise using tongs so you don't burn yourself. Usually after the first one, it goes really fast. So just getting a feel for how hot your stove is, how brown or how more soft you want your dough, whatever works. It'd be bad if I open it. Ow! It is still taking its sweet time. I like having brown little dots on mine. So we'll give a few more seconds. Like I said, the first one takes the longest. They're still not really brown on there, but it's fine. All right, small brown dots. This one was done. That one took a really long time, actually longer than I was expecting. It kind of surprises me every time. Because this one sat on the counter for so long, it kind of was a little bit tricky getting off. I'm going to show rolling out one more tortilla here and then just keep it where I'm cooking. Look at all those bubbles. See some brown dots coming on this side, and it'll be ready to flip. I am putting more butter down after 4 tortillas, just because you can kind of tell you need more butter if it's hard to readjust the tortilla after you put it on your skillet. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I've kind of been struggling putting the tortillas like flat without getting wrinkles on the skillet. So if you have any tips, comment them. It's kind of a fast jig to put one on here, roll one out, and have it ready before this burns. So it could help to have someone like doing their tortillas while someone else rolls out. I'm just kind of used to like cranking it out, and you kind of get used to it. I have 7 more tortillas to cook. I'll butter it up one more time, and that should last me until the end. Might have to do one more in between. I have such a weird proposition. I love the smell of parsley, And I think it would be fantastic as a deodorant scent. If you agree with me, like this video. Like I said earlier, look how flexible these tortillas are. They will not break. Best recipe ever. I am going to re-butter the skillet after this, then 4 more tortillas. That is 15 tortillas. I'd say medium sized. Here's my last butter. I know we're down to the last tortillas. If your house does not have good ventilation, turn on your microwave like fan, I think. I don't know, it wafts the air up so it's not so concentrated up in the ceiling. Or you could just open a door, breathe some fresh air from the real world if you haven't opened your door today. This is the last tortilla of the night.